Hello folks, this is Best in Slot and we are back today speed building our temple zoo. I thought we'd start on a nice evocative image right there. Let's hit play and get started. So today we are going to, well I've had a little bit of a think, I've had a little bit of a theme idea, and you can see we're going to bring in these plants. Now we're actually going to remove some of these. I can't remember what they're called. It begins with cord, C-O-R-D, and it goes from there. But these really nice bright purple plants, they're not actually part of the South America pack. I think they were added for free. Anyways, I'm going to talk about those in a little bit. A lot of the focus for the first part of this video is going to be on the bridge. As people mentioned, and you know, I kind of already was leaning in that direction for sure. The bridge, the top bit looks okay, although we're going to do a bit of work on that as well. But the support structures that Planet Zoo adds are a little bit weedy. You know, they're fine for the normal pathing, but they're not good for what is meant to be this ancient stone structure. So a lot of what we're about to do is just thicken that up a little bit. I'm going to stick different blocks on in various places and different sort of elevations and just try to thicken it up and make it look a little bit more like it would actually be built and usable in this kind of environment. So that's what we're doing right now, just layering different sort of stone pieces on top just to thicken it up, basically, more than anything else. Make it look chunky, essentially, as you can see. So that'll sink in a little bit. Always sinking it a little bit further in, so it's kind of got like the staggered effect. It just makes it look a little bit more interesting, I think. I don't know what went wrong there, but there you go. Beautiful. Drag that along. You can see already we've basically doubled the height of the bridge when you look at it from the side, and already looks a lot more evocative of the kind of atmosphere we're trying to generate right here. We are going to destroy it a little bit as well, but first we need to cover these pillars in some stuff, and really I'm just going to stack various chunks of rock on top of each other and sort of gradually bring them down. It is maybe still it's a lot thicker, a lot chunkier, but it's still maybe a little bit thin. I am considering extending this even further, but I'm happy with it for now. So yeah, the building pieces are really cool, as long as you're willing to spend the time. And it can take a while, especially if you're trying to build like a large wall and stuff like that. You can do whatever you want with the building pieces, with the temple pieces, and they'll always look really cool together, but it can be a little bit of a tedious process, to say the least, including this bit. But there we go. Even that looks better. We're not done quite yet, but that is an improvement. But we need to chunkify it. Chunk is the word of the day, apparently. I had a lot of fun with this again. I really did. This was about a 2.5 hour build. I've only ×5 speeded it. Is that English? Let's go with that. It's English. Just because I think ×5 is about the maximum in which you guys can really easily see what's going on. It's very clear what I'm doing right now. When we start hitting the 7s and 8s, which is usually what I do with the longer time lapses, I think it becomes quite hard to track what's going on. So I'm going to try to avoid that. I'm going to try to stick to building for about 2.5 hours, and then we can ×5 speed without the video going on forever, basically. Doesn't that look better? Doesn't that look a lot better already? Put a little symbols on, shut up world, sink those in a little bit. Just, yeah, make it fit. Make it fit? That was fit and thematically in one word. Fit. Thetatically. Or something. God only knows. I think I decided that was good enough. So we're just going to grab that and we're going to duplicate it all the way along. And use that as our pillar, including adding extra ones at the side, just because obviously there was no support structure there, but it felt like there should be. It's not perfectly even, it will need swapping around a little bit, but doesn't that look way better already? It really does. Big improvement. Happy with this so far. Need to flip around the stone that we did underneath it as well, just to thicken up that right hand side at the same time. Lovely stuff. And the torches are actually a pain. I tried to fix these several times. I think I ended up deleting them. What else are we going to do in this video? We're going to add ruins under the water. Admittedly, I kind of cheated and used the blueprints because you don't really see them at all. You get like a hint of them. You'll see what I mean. We will, of course, do a non-time-lapse bit later on. I thought we'd do like just a little bit that pops up for underneath the torches, so they don't just sit there in the rock all the way along. So each torch is going to be resting in its own little enclave sort of shebang. We are going to work on the other side of the bridge as well. Next video will be our first animal exhibit. We're going to bring in the capuchin monkeys. We're basically set up for that already. So next video we should be able to just build the exhibit. Bearing in mind the exhibit will just look like wilderness. We'll build them some ruins to climb around in and stuff like that. We'll make it into a usable habitat, but I'm going to disguise it as much as possible. It should still feel basically like the wilderness. It shouldn't feel like a zoo exhibit. That's very much not what we're going for here. I still have a cold for about 4 weeks straight. yeah, there we go. Just little module things. Grab them, duplicate them, you know, so it keeps the approximate space, and there you go, nice and easy. Just add these little things, and then we're gonna grab all of them, flip them around like so, drag them over to the side. There we go, lovely stuff. As it turns out, they were slightly uneven. They hadn't gone on straight, so it required... There's going to be some rotation and jangling around and stuff to try and make everything fit in here. And we're also going to be editing the sides. You can see, especially in daytime, it doesn't look great. At nighttime, it's survivable, but still isn't great. Like where we're looking right now, underneath that wall, that sort of like, and at the sides, these sort of like slabs of grass and slabs of terrain. That obviously doesn't look great, and I really wanted to get rid of that, so we're going to spend some time. I don't know if I actually got that on video, but I attacked it with terrain tools to basically blend it in, so it looks like the river kind of carries on into the distance and stuff like that. So this was my idea to get there. I really wanted it to be really subtle, but I wanted it to be there. Because we can't do this big deep chasm with the straight waterfall, which is what I wanted to do, I decided to do something else. And what I thought is maybe what we can do is then sink some ruins beneath the water, and if we put them on the ground, maybe you'll be able to see just a hint of the bottom, and then they'll sit there. It turns out it wasn't quite shallow enough, but we will get the ruins in there. I really didn't want it to be like this really noticeable thing. I want you to walk past and just see this hint of this like ancient civilization that's been lost to the waters, and maybe they took that. Maybe something happened. Maybe this area just collapsed inwards or something, and they had to rebuild further on and higher up in safer ground. As I say, I do also have a so I thought we'd try lighting it at first, like so, and those ones disappeared, but kind of like sinking it under like that. It's hard to see unless it's very close to the top, and then when it is very close to the top, it's hard to... I don't know, it's difficult to get right. I think we got it in the end, but it's tough to... You see what I mean? That's way too bright. And even that, with the lights, I think is too noticeable. I really want this to be subtle, not like a big thing. I do want to address... I had a couple of comments about the waterfall. It's very, very straight and unnatural looking. That is by design. We are going to blend it in a little bit. I'm going to put a wall in front of it, and it looks a lot better. But I am basing this on a art piece that I really liked on Pinterest, where it had this big stone bridge going across into this very straight waterfall, because it gives it... It's meant to have a mystical... That was pretty good, actually. It's meant to have a slightly mystical, otherworldly kind of appearance. It's not necessarily meant to be the most natural-looking thing in the world. I wanted to have this kind of supernatural element. And we are going to lean into that. I've had a little bit of a thought and a little bit of a plan, which will come to fruition later on in the time-lapse. Now, we need many more trees. So many trees. I want to give a shout out to Planet Zoo, honestly, because I've probably got 1,000 trees plus just in this little starter area, by the time I've finished. And it doesn't lag. It doesn't. Planet Zoo just doesn't lag at all in that situation. It's honestly genuinely impressive. Every group of this is like 60 trees or something like that, and other pieces of foliage. And just grabbing them, rotating them around, raising them up a little bit at the back, because that kind of hides the wider environment and kind of just makes the tree line look like it goes on for further. From above or from certain angles, it'll look bizarre, but all that matters is what it looks like as you experience it walking around the park, as you experience walking around our zoo, in quotation marks. It should just make I want the forest to feel oppressive, like it's like a noose tightening around our build, But you can see what I mean by the land. It just looks weird, so I am going to start attacking that. So we have to flatten it all first, I think was the plan. I really wasn't sure what to do about this for a long time. I just wasn't sure how I was going to make it look natural. In the daytime it still looks a little finicky, but at night time it does look pretty cool now. And I think it works. But you guys are going to help me judge for that, I'm sure. But I think it works. Many more trees. So many. I cannot overstate how many trees I have in this zoo so far. It's absolutely nuts. So many. We're just blending in the end of the fence there. Because the fence ends quite soon on this side. On the other side it actually goes all the way across. But on this side, the fence, the wall, ends really soon. But as long as you can obscure the end of it in trees and stuff, it doesn't actually matter, I considered having these bits where it hits the water, then I realised very quickly it doesn't really make sense. The idea is this is kind of flooded, blah, 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 blah. So it doesn't really make sense that they would build something around the water. So I got rid of that pretty quickly. And now what am I doing? I did record this about 2 days apart in 2 separate videos, so I kind of forget sometimes. Working on the bridge a little bit. The bridge did need chunkifying. I'm going to stop saying that word. Just it's the little details. Like, that doesn't mean much. It's just this little slab of stone, right, at the side. But it just makes it feel a little bit more man-made, a little bit more purposeful, just a little bit more interesting. It's like on its own, it's not an interesting detail, but when you've got lots of little details together, they come together to make a more full and well-rounded picture. We are going to put some destruction on the bridge eventually as well. I tried not to go overboard with it compared to the other places, but we do get some destruction on. And then we're going to go hella destructive on the other side of the bridge. And a little bit more horror focused as well. Made me very happy. So this was actually, I think, in the second part. I jumped forward here. I decided that's too bright. I'm actually going to darken that even further later on. And you'll see every now and again. Again, I'll show you in the non-time lapse. But I really liked this idea. And you can see I've edited the ground a lot. I really like this idea of having torches just sort of in the tree line in the distance. It could be torches that, you know, the people of the area have left there. It could be other explorers. It could be the people who live here, the inhabitants, supernatural or otherwise, and they're just kind of exploring in the darkness, and you can just see, you don't see them, you don't see much, you see the glimmer of their torchlight in between the tree line. I thought that was a really cool thematic idea. That's right, I'm owning the T word. So we're going to do our ruins. I really am just taking the blueprints from Frontier and sinking them into the ground. I'd love to say it was more complex than that, but that's literally all I'm doing. You really don't see them much. I didn't really want to spend, you know, probably 4 hours or so building an underground city that you don't see. I think that's understandable, but you can let me know. So just thinking some buildings in really, just so there's some shadows in there, there's some hints. Tried to make it moderately logical and mix the walls together so it looks like it would be an actual little village, town, city, whatever it would have been. A civilization of some description. Seeing some trees down there so you can kind of see how it's overgrown and taken by nature over time. A little bit too far, so get down a bit further, there we go. You will see under there at some point. Again, I considered lighting it, but it's just, there's no way of doing it in a nice, subtle manner. But, yeah. You can see how the sides, they look okay at daytime. It's a little bit messy. I was trying to neaten it up just a little bit more, but by and large, it's okay. Apologies for all the bits. I did start to build at nighttime, and then, because, you know, it's meant to be viewed at nighttime, but we still have to build in daytime. I don't mind building at nighttime, but I want you guys to be able to actually see what I'm doing, so we have to build in daytime, essentially. And we're going to start bringing in some... I loved this idea, by the way. I just couldn't get it to work. It just... The angle wasn't right. But I loved the idea of this tree. I was going to obviously split the path around it and put some dirt in and stuff like that. But the idea of a tree, like an entire tree growing up one of the pillars and then bursting out of the bridge at the top, I thought that was an amazing idea. I love that idea. I'd still like to try to integrate it, but it seems unlikely. I'd also like to have like a gap in the path. You know, like holes where the rocks have fallen through. It just isn't going to happen, unfortunately. I just don't see a way of making that happen where the path can still cross over, you know? If we had invisible paths, then sure, but I think that would be the only way to do it, unless you had like a very wide bridge, and unfortunately we don't, so. No gaps, but that's okay. We'll put some, the roots in. The roots are very important. They're dead, which is also very important, as you will see later on. So this was the stuff I did earlier today anyway, yeah. Roots on the bridge, and then these little... We're going to get rid of quite a lot of these. These are a quarter line, that's what it's called. So, I'll talk about the plan. So I was thinking about films like Moonraker and... not really a classic horror film. Moonraker and Anaconda Blood Orchid and stuff like that. And The Ruins, which is literally a film where a group of attractive teenagers, obviously young 20-year-olds, whatever, go into the ruins. They find in this jungle, and they get killed by like killer plants. Like the ruins themselves sort of use the plant life to kill them. It's actually an okay film. It's not a good film, but it's an okay film. Seen it a few times actually, and I really like that idea. And whilst I'm still definitely leaning, you know, I got some comments about this. I do want to address it very quickly about the cannibalistic tribes and stuff like that. For me, that is it's just a horror movie trope, you know, and it's one that I really enjoy. It's a horror movie trope. I'm not making a commentary on these tribes in reality, on native tribes in general, because obviously this is not how most tribes people live. It's just we're trying to build a horror film here, so we have to use horror film tropes, and that is a big one. You know, this cannibalistic tribe in the middle of the jungle is a pretty common thing in horror films. So that's why we're leaning in that direction, and I really like it as a theme. I've always really liked it. Same with King Kong. King Kong had a very similar idea. Loads of films do, even non-horror films. Anyways, put the arch back on, just mixing things up a little bit. Decided it's too much light. Every time I see it, it annoys me, so I'm going to bring all these lights in, and then in a minute I'm going to go, too many lights. So we'll end up getting rid of those. But anyways, the plan is obviously we're adding more and more skulls as we go along to kind of up the horror and kind of actually get closer to where the sacrifices and the eatings went on and all this kind of jazz. But the flower, the cordyline, is going to be heavily associated with death. It only grows. I'm trying to like integrate this supernatural element. There's something evil is going on with this flower, plant, whatever you want to call it, and it only grows in the presence of death. So I'm going to remove a lot of them, and then whenever there's a skull, or like a pile of skulls in particular, more and more cordylines grow in that area. And it's not going to be pointed out or anything. The idea is that as you walk through, you just start to notice, because there's another plant that's very similar, it's like a green one. There's quite a lot of those I'm going to add in a little bit. But then the purple ones only come in when there's lots of skulls and death and like ritual sacrifice sites and stuff like that. They're going to be covered in this purple plant because it's supernatural and it grows literally whenever death is present. I thought that was a really cool thematic kind of thing, and we're going to lean really hard in that direction. So I'm going to remove a lot of the cordylines and basically just put them wherever I've put loads of skulls. So you're going to see more and more of those as you walk through the zoo and we get into a more horror kind of theme, basically. I was really happy though. I thought it was a great idea. I still don't know what the story behind it is, but it's forming, it's getting there. Anyways, move the archway forward. We've elongated our wall, and you can see the wall crosses over, so we're going to put some stone beneath there. And eventually the idea is, so you're going to follow a path, and you will be stuck to a path as you walk through this zoo. But I'm going to have other pathways going off, and the idea is that as you walk down the main one, you'll be able to see. It shouldn't feel like a directed path like this, because that's not how they would have built it. You know, you'd have multiple corridors and stuff like that. So we're going to integrate those as well. And as you walk through, you should see other parts of this temple area sort of extend into the distance. The idea is that as you walk through this bit, you're going to see the capuchins bouncing around and hollering in the distance, blah, 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 blah. And you sort of walk, and it gets a little darker and darker and curvier, and then you walk into a clearing, and that's where we see the temple. And I think we're going to have the llamas in that clearing around the base of the temple, and even the higher reaches of the temple, maybe, have some llamas there, and then you're going to enter the temple itself. I think. Maybe up to the top of the temple. I really like the idea of you standing on top of the temple and then dropping down somehow, but we'll come to that. So we need a... Oh, this was 3 videos I did. So I'm just trying to build up the wall on the other side now. Very subtly did this, but the wall on this side of the bridge is 1 block higher than the wall on the first side of the bridge. And that's just because, again, as you get closer and closer to what's going on, we want it darker and spookier, so the taller the wall is, the more claustrophobic it is, the more sort of enclosed you feel, and that's very much what I wanted to emphasise with this. Again, the problem is this doesn't photograph very well. Like, it's really bad for thumbnails and stuff like that, so I am going to put in the ruins under the water. That's going to be the focus, even though you don't really see it, if we're totally honest. So it's my hook for the video. I wanted to do a shelf, a spooky shelf of skulls, basically, and that's what we're doing right now. And I thought, you know, we can use this sort of wall thing, I can't remember what they call it in the game, but it's got the symbols on it, that looks pretty cool, it's like a backdrop for it. So we're going to build this shelf. We're not going to go too overboard, like there are images out there you see of cannibalistic tribes and stuff where, hell, and stuff like King Kong, where these stone shelves are just full of skulls, tons of skulls lying everywhere, falling off and cracking and all this kind of jazz. We are going to do that, but for now I'm still we're just building it up a little bit more subtlety, not too much subtlety, less subtlety than last time, like on the other side of the bridge, because now they've entered and they can't go back now. This is a point of no return. So there's going to be, 6 or 7 skulls in the area, and we will go hard in. I haven't decided on the cordyline thing at this point of the recording, but this whole area is going to be very much covered in the cordylines, just to emphasise that the skulls are there, and this is beginning to become a site of death, essentially. I think that happened in the ruins, I think there was a particular plant that as things got worse, it started to grow. I've not seen the film in a few years, but yeah. I just really like this. This aesthetic is so made for me, and I'm sure that's weird to some people. That's totally fine, but if you're into this kind of thing, then this pack is very, very cool. The skull does help, I will say. I think he's releasing it to the public, but I haven't seen it yet. I'll have to double check. So we're going to have a couple of windows here on the left and the right. And again, the idea is as you walk through, you feel claustrophobic and contained, but you can look to the left and you should be able to see, the wider ranges of what's going on. You should be able to see through and see other corridors and other spooky things, and maybe like a fire moving, maybe someone's, with little signs of life and stuff like that. Just little hints that there is more to this area than the path that we're stuck on. I don't want it to feel like a guided tour, so that's what I'm doing here. We're adding those little walkways in, and we'll put walls around there, not in as much detail as I'm going to do here, but we'll add some walls and some rubble and stuff just to make it feel a little bit more alive, you know? I love this, I do. I so enjoy this build. It can get a little tedious doing this kind of thing, you know, stacking the brick on top of each other. It's not the most fun you're going to have in your life, but yeah, it's cool. It's cool. And the roots and everything, and I gotta be honest, when I first started building this part, it wasn't really coming together. There was something about it that wasn't striking me. It didn't look as good as the other side. So I was trying a lot of things, like rotating the blocks again and all this kind of jazz, tilting that one out so it's kind of tumbling out of the wall. I mean, it does come together. Still haven't decided on the corderline thing, I don't think. I do like them like wrapping up the tree though. That's just a great looking plant, and this is where I thought, oh, you know what? That's a cool idea. Let's do that. So behind those roots there's loads of skulls. So that's where the corderline's going to grow. Really heavily in that area because there is that shelf skull, and we're going to go even harder on them later on. And then we came back here, added another one by that skull, was trying to find this other skull, there it is. And then I think this is where I started to decide, hopefully, we're going to have some torches first. We need torches, obviously. You need to be able to see what the hell's going on. It looks really good as well. And eventually I'm going to decide to get rid of most of them. Or are we doing the rubble first? We're doing some rubble first. We're going to do like a big broken through wall on the right hand side with like a tree log falling through. Bring in the mulch again. I'm going to bring it in a little bit more than I am doing as well. It looks really good just sunk into the ground and peeking through little bits of rubble. It's a really nice effect. Lots and lots of rubble. The rubble's fun as well. Just stick things in and make it look ruined, you know? Pop some of these into the ground and they kind of stick up a little bit. It's cool. Makes me so happy. Like, even just watching myself build, I'm like, yeah, this is cool. So lots of mulch there. We went a little bit harder on the destruction on this side. Do get rid of that tree. Not a fan of that tree. Went a little harder on destruction on this side just because it makes sense for the ruins to get more and more ruined as we get closer. But then I kind of want the main temple to be... It's going to have some rubble, it's going to have some fallen out bits, but I want it to be fairly put together. Like, this is to them, like a holy place, or it's like a... you know, place of great significance. So even whilst the rest of the civilization fell down to shreds, even whilst the rest of it was allowed to fall decrepit, they still maintained and looked after this structure because this structure was so important, you know, to the civilization that lived here. I need to actually sit down and write like a short thing about what the story is for this area, but there's something like that. I'm even leaning towards that there was this... Oh, I like that idea. That there was this tribe here. There was a cannibalistic tribe. You know, I'm not going to... And here we decided, I love these green plants. They're very cool. Replacing a lot of the corderlines with these, because the corderlines, again, should only be there in the presence of death. So if there's no skulls in the area, we replace them with the green plants instead. So as you walk along, you should see the difference. You see, oh, those green plants are there. But why are the purple plants always there? Oh, it's because that's where the skulls are. And you start to associate the purple plants, the corderlines, with death, essentially. That's very much the idea. Maybe... But yeah, I'm going to bring the log in here because I like this log. But the log that you get in the South America, it just looks weird to me. The South America log looks really strange. I like the idea of one tumbling. I think one of you suggested this in the comments actually. I like the idea of it like falling through the wall and spilling rubble everywhere. That's a cool idea, but I just couldn't do it with the South America log. Maybe as this cannibalistic tribe, how long have we got left by the way? A minute and a half. As they killed more and more people, as they committed these ritual sacrifices and all this kind of horror movie trope stuff, they noticed the flowers starting to grow, and they themselves have been, like, I'm kind of living in a world where they're not here anymore. This place has been somewhat abandoned. But the evil behind... It's like a ghost, in a way, right? Or like a malevolent spirit that's here because someone did something wrong, and it's out for revenge, kind of thing. The corderlines feed off that evil, and feed off that... Not that all... Wait, I want to pause this and discuss this, because people may take that the wrong way if they happen to be cannibals. Not that cannibalistic tribes are inherently evil, because I think if you're raised in that, and that's your way of life from birth, and that's just kind of your culture, don't get me wrong, like to us, and to me morally, it's very much not a nice thing to do. It is evil somewhat, but it doesn't make them evil. You know what I mean? I think morality is much more shades of grey than that. But let's just roll with it for the thematic purpose of the horror film. As they commit these fairly brutal acts at the end of the day, no matter what, it is a brutal, horrific thing to do, you know, even if it is part of your inherent culture. The flowers start to grow more and more and more. They feed off it. They feed off the fear and the pain and the evil in the area. And eventually, the flowers themselves took over and eliminated this civilization, so their own acts kind of led to their own downfall, kind of thing, you know, which is, again, quite a common trope, I would say. Little skull there, going to sink that one between the rocks, so it's kind of like just poking out. Yeah, it's been overgrown a little bit over time. I might put a little bit more moss over the top of that one. I really like this part of the wall. I think this side looks even better than the first side, and especially when we add the runes at the side and bring it all together, it's going to be awesome. I'm so excited to see this come together. Sinking some foliage down every now and again, because why not? And obviously we'll head in game. There's not much I want to do building-wise in the non-time-lapse portion of this video, so I think it'll just be like a little mini-tour, basically, of what we've done so far. And I think I'm basically done here. Yeah. Okay, nice place to end it. I'll hop into the game. I'll see you in a second. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to shift it over to nighttime, and we'll take a little walk through our zoo so far. Here we go. Boom. There we go. Nice and spooky. I really think taking the lights off that was a really good change. It's still too bright for me. I wish the nighttime was darker. I would love that, but it's just not a thing. So we must walk. We must walk on. You can see again we brought in these new plants instead. It's just beautiful. They're pretty much everywhere except over here. You know, there's a skull there and there's a little cord line growing there. Nice and subtle. Like, I think it would be very easy to walk along here and not notice that skull in the bottom right corner. It blends in really well. It's meant to. It's meant to be subtle at this point in time. Less and less as we go on. I kind of want to do something over there. That area is actually quite dull looking. We'll have to do something there. Maybe bring in some of these plants. We're walking. Got rid of the cord lines here. Just put in some other plant life. Climb over the rubble. And again, oh right, okay. This is your first skull. It's lit. You would notice that. It's lit, fam. You'd notice the first skull right there. And again, the cord line. Interesting. And we're walking. Ah. I think when this is all walled up, it's going to look really cool. And more lights and the big temple in the distance and stuff like that. I might obscure the big temple in the distance entirely, you know, with tree lines. I don't think I want you to see it until you emerge into the clearing. I think that's going to look better. And as you look over to the side, you can see these sort of orange lights in the distance and the river that seems to go on and on and on and on. And who knows how far the waterfall goes. You know, it just blends off into the darkness. Maybe there's other people out there. Who knows what's out there. And if you look down, you can see some walls. You can see some trees. You can make out the hint of buildings underneath there. Especially on this side. I think I want to bring in a few more of these. Like over there. A few more buildings as well. It looks a bit weird when you're under the water. I'll show you it at some point, but God, you can't even see that one, can you? The problem is that when you've clicked something, it kind of highlights it. Even like if I press X, you can see it's all sort of shaded in the dark colours, but it's hard to see what you'll actually be able to see. That's too high up. There you go. There's hints of something below there, you know, that you can see that there are buildings, that there's something in that water, and then there's that over there. I'm not sure about this tree here. We might have to go. That's better. Cool. I really like how that looks. Oh, wait, sorry. I keep forgetting to do this. I always play Planet Zoo in muted, because when I'm like sandbox building, all I want to do is like blast my own music, basically. And I keep forgetting to turn the sound back on for my video recordings, but I'm going to have to remember to do that. So, yeah, look over both sides, look into the distance. We've got a long, there's a little problem over there I'll have to fix, but a long waterfall, walking forward. Do. Love that. There's a skull up there as well. You can just about see the outline of the eyes. So that, again, we've got the cord lines up here. And also I wanted to emphasize the cord lines a little bit. God, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, on this archway, just because this is the archway that leads beyond the point of no return. This is where the horror begins, essentially, and they can't back out at this point. I like the idea that as you walk through here, let's say at some point they try to return, this whole area, there'd be like roots crawling all over it and blocking it off as the plant kind of like stops them because it wants to feed off their fear or whatever, stuff like that. Evil plant. It's a bit lame, but I'm sure we can think of something. And we're walking, so you'll look down there, this will have, again, I might just copy and paste this, to be honest, and make some small changes, because this isn't going to be a focus, you're never going to walk down here, but I want you to look down there and see, you know, walls, and if you just see little temples and see broken things. And the same over on this side, exact same deal. Gonna have to get rid of that long grass. Long grass. Anyways, the tree's fallen through there, another one's grown up around it. We've got the sort of the mossy rocks here, and some mulch and some plant life. The ruins. Little hint of cordyline there, and some of the green plants or ruins. I love the roots, the way they sort of burst through the rock. And then you're walking, and you see the shelf here, and you can just see the hint of one skull over there. One of the torches has fallen off to kind of light it dramatically from below, so it's just resting there on the ground. And it creates like a nice focal point, I think. Look at that, like ring of light there, that's beautiful. And you just see all these cordylines, like, huh, maybe you spot the skull down there. The skull there, and maybe you think, oh well, this bit, this overgrown bit covered in this plant that you're now starting to associate with these skulls, and you turn around and you look around and you see this, the biggest pile of them yet, all kind of stacked there, hiding behind the roots, but it's allowing the cordylines to grow in that area. The blood orchid, as we're now going to call it. And there's a couple more, there's one there, and there's a couple over there as well. I might tilt, this one's looking a little bit. You have to tilt them a little bit, otherwise they don't look aged, you know? Might chuck another cordline over there as well. Let's do that. I don't want to go too overboard in some ways. I think I already am. But I think some subtlety will help here. Because at the end of the day, we are trying to build up to more horror than just right now, but that's better. The area just looks a bit boring. I really like how this looks as well, with this tree, and the cordylines are actually growing up it. This tree's starting to die from like the trunk and the roots upwards. Eventually, obviously, we'll lose all the leaves on top, but as the cordylines kind of spiral up the top of it along with the roots. And those roots need moving very slightly upwards. There we go. And that's about it, honestly. This takes an immensely long time just to do this kind of thing. There's a lot of detail, there's a lot of messing around with all these various bits, but I mean, that looks really cool to me. I love how that looks. Oh my god. Yeah, that's pretty baller. I'm gonna take a screenshot. That's my thumbnail, I think. Maybe we need a torch on this side? I don't know. I think to some extent having less torches is better. Obviously, because you don't want it to be too bright, right? You want some darkness. But we'll stick it in and we'll have a little look. Especially here. I mean, we can pretend it's fallen off, you know, just because this area is kind of crumbling. Especially here though, because it's kind of like in a video game where you know, if you've got somewhere you want a player to go, you put like a green light there, or you put like little subtle lights there that sort of indicate this is a good place to go. It's kind of the same idea. Like, I don't want... I like this. I think it looks pretty cool. But it's not the focus. I want people to focus their attention over here, right? So we light it up, you know? Yeah, I think that's fair. I really like it. It does take a long time. This is like a 6-hour, 7-hour build just to do this, but I think it's going to pay off really, really big. I think it's going to be my best work. Yeah, I'm super excited. So, next video, we are going to work on the capuchins. The idea is you walk around here, and as you start to go around this path, you know, this kind of curvy, topsy-turvy thing, this whole area is going to be... I'll put some barriers in. I think it's going to be 2 capuchin enclosures. One on each side of the path. Or maybe... Ooh! I'm just thinking, maybe we can have like a part of the wall kind of broken in and like a tree log lying over the top, and we can get the capuchins to walk across in front of people, like from exhibit to exhibit, like over the top. That'd be really cool. The thing is, we can't do a walk-through enclosure because a walk-through enclosure requires a doorway, so I'm not sure that'll work. But it's a cool idea, and we'll definitely link them together even if they don't actually use it, but you can't do a walk-through enclosure without the big wooden doors, and obviously we don't want to use those, so... Anyways, we're going to put some walls around here, and then we're going to put capuchins in there, capuchins in there, and I'll probably just work on the walls and stuff on my own time, and then you'll walk around. I'm thinking of like a big archway or something a little bit more dramatic and piles of skulls and stuff, and just sort of, or maybe like a mini room. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. Maybe like a little staircase that you go up into this dark chamber, and then you walk forward a little bit further, and then you'll be in the clearing with the llamas and the big old temple. That's the plan going forward. I'm open to suggestions and ideas. Feel free to hit me up in the comment section down below. But either way, I will see you lovely folks in the next video. Thank you so much for joining me. Cheers, much love as always. Bye-bye. Hey folks, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you want to help support me a little bit more, you can do so at patreon.com/bestinslot. There's a link in the description down below. Every little really does help in times like these, but it's not at all expected, and by just watching the video you've already helped me out massively, and it makes you a pretty cool person, so well done you. Thanks for joining me either way, I'll see you next time.